Let's play a fun little game called Over or Under. I say how well I think a game's gonna do on release. You say how well you think the game will do on release, and we'll see who ends up being closer. Today's game is Moroi. I think that's how you say it. Claymation at its most curious and unsettling in that, I really should look away, but I can't help myself. I can't help but stare kind of way. It's a point-and-click adventure until it's not. Then it's a hack and slash. But both of those elements are merely two slices of bread for this dark fantasy sandwich. It's hard to tell where this haunting, humorous, hellish story will end up. I'm not even sure where it began, as the main character has amnesia. Evidently, you're paying for sins forgotten, and if the punishment fits the crime, then I want to find out what I did to deserve eternal damnation in a Henry Selick x Ramstein production. In my opinion, this stinks of potential cult classic status with broader mainstream appeal on the fringes. See, it's dark and grotesque, which can generally be off-putting to some. But it's like a flame to a moth for the that's so metal demographic, who are a bit underserved these days with all the colorful cyan and magenta games at the AAA, AA, and indie level. Low supply, moderate to high demand is always a good sign when you're entering the market. And it's not crass or tasteless. I do find it off-putting at times, but there's a sense of purpose. I'm reminded of when Mr. Miyazaki was giving art direction for the undead dragon in Dark Souls, and the first design draft was of a dragon covered in maggots and other gross things. Then Miyazaki handed it back and said, "This isn't dignified. Don't rely on the gross factor to portray an undead dragon. Can't you instead try to convey the deep sorrow of a magnificent beast doomed to a slow and possible endless descent into ruin?" Which makes sense. Because if you're trying to be gross, the conversation ends at yuck. But dignity and suffering makes you think, makes you wonder. The lighting, the character design, the environment, the color palettes, everything has a rhyme and a reason beyond my understanding. And when a developer does that, it creates a form of reverence almost. It puts you in a different mindset, like you're hearing a story by the campfire. You're in what I would call lore mode, knowing what you'll receive is closer to improv and it's about the showmanship. You want to know what it means, but you're ready to accept that you may never fully understand the mythos. And that is one hell of a safety net for creative writing, making the recipient fill in the blanks for you. If there are gaps in the story or dodgy narrative bits, the player's not going to assume bad writing, just more madness in a mad world. I think it's better for a player to leave wishing there was more story than less. One's a compliment, one's a cry for help. To finish off, I mentioned this game has potential for wider appeal, and I think it's because it's filled with uncanny, mature themes presented in a traditionally juvenile manner. It's the Courage the Cowardly Dog appeal, Watership Down, Felix the Cat, Secret of Nim, Coraline, Redwall. For some reason, I find brutality feels toned down when it's presented as a cartoon or claymation. But this, in turn, makes what's happening on screen feel even more sinister. So you're diminishing the visceral reaction to turn away, while increasing the uncomfortable intrigue which draws people in. And if it's not that deep, bro, at the very least it's got a unique yet familiar stylization, almost Diablo 2 in clay, which tends to attract the artsy crowd, as did Judaro and Harold Halibut, both done in clay, or Scarlet Deer Inn, which is stitched by hand. The games our art crowd loves this kind of stuff. So final answer, I'm expecting this one will do pretty well. I'm sensing an overwhelmingly positive review rating on Steam, which it might keep. It might not, because as the game gets more popular and reaches outside of its target demographic, you're more likely to get more negative reviews from people outside of the intended audience. Any takers? Bigger hit? Bigger flop? Over or under?